come back and try again. I mean, it's disappointing. It's heartbreaking. I'm happy we had a great fight. We all wanted a great fight, but we didn't want a bad ending.
It's visible that you're disappointed. Why? And are you surprised that I guess Kovalev lost? And were you just that sure that he was going to be that much better than Andre Ward?
I knew all along this would be a close fight, but once I watched the first 5 or 6 rounds, he was clearly dominating. Ward was backpedaling. He actually looked afraid for a while there. When he knocked him down, it was so emphatic. I think he hurt his hand because something happened.
What went through your mind when you put him down? When you put Ward down?
Screaming and yelling, or I was jumping up and down. I mean, you come into a fight like this knowing you can't be so cocksure you're going to win. Yeah. You hope, you pray, you want everything to go your way. But injuries seem to be the theme tonight. Curtis Stevens looks like he broke his hand. Isaac Chalemba went to the hospital. Looks like he broke his hand. Our guys, it was a bad night for them physically. I think Sergey may have a bad injury there.
With the rematch clause, is it safe to say that we'll see a rematch next?
Absolutely, we have the right and we're calling for it. Yes, next fight.
Hey Kathy, did you have an inkling, not an inkling, but maybe in the back of your mind that maybe something like this could happen, where the American fighter gets favored over the Russian fighter?
No, I really didn't, because I don't think of Sergey as a Russian fighter. He has fought so much of his career here. In the last 4 years, he's had only 1 fight in Russia, and he's adopted. This is his home, and I hate to think that that was at play here. I would hate to think.
At what point do you think he's going to be stuck at?
I'm not sure, but it seems to me in those middle rounds where Ward started to have some good rounds after the 6th, that Sergey wasn't throwing his right anymore. So I have to imagine it was around the 7th round or so.
What did you tell Sergey when you got in the ring, and what did you guys talk about? If you had a chance to.
We didn't really talk.
You didn't really talk? Now, in terms of just overall how you saw Sergey, how did you see him? He looked super sharp in there. His timing looked on point.
His timing was terrific. He looked sharp. I suspect, again, if an injury keeps you from performing at your best, that's not an excuse. Injuries happen. That's part of why you can never predict anything in boxing. But I think he had a great game plan. I think he had exactly the right. It was executing it perfectly. In the first 6 rounds, he was executing it perfectly. And I think he was injured, and that's probably what kept him from continuing to do it as well. But he was still, I mean, my God, he was so far ahead at that point that, every round's supposed to count the same. And he had a 2-point round in the 2nd round. How does a fight where it looks like you won the first 6 rounds end up a loss?
For you, do you feel that the 114-113, if it would have went to Sergey's way, would have been a justifiable score?
Yes. Yeah. And it's close. And when it's close like that, I know you can't yell too loud.
Yeah.
But and I accept that. It's opinion. But I just it's one of those fights where some of the rounds were so clear cut. And it wasn't the kind of fight where the rounds were tough to score, unless like you were a UFC judge and you were scoring points for the wrestling. The wrestling was abominable. It was abhorrent, and the referee did nothing about it. And I'm really upset about that. And yeah, again, if you have a 1-point fight, you have a 1-point fight or a 2-point fight. I thought it was like 7-5 in rounds. I thought Sergey had a 2-point round, so that should actually have him up by more than a point. But I've been around long enough to know if you get the win, you don't complain. But again, the wrestling. There was more wrestling than fighting. He really could have a great career in the UFC.